Okay. Get your leg in. I probably have to turn down my speaker. Okay. Oh, Billy's here. Hi, Billy. Yep, we're here, Billy. You got us. You were here ahead of us. And we'll just wait a couple of seconds here to see who else joins in.
Maybe I should close my door.
Maybe.
It's noisy.
And Nancy's here. Hi, Nancy. And Roberta. Hi, Roberta.
Pushing your cot.
Pushing your stool.
Yeah.
You're higher than me. You should never be higher than the queen. You need to be one stool lower. Okay, well, we'll see who else. We've got about 7 people hanging in there. And Janet's here. Hi, Janet. And today's poo-poo platter, we have decided this is now Sunday night dinner because after we eat this stuff with this, we don't want anything for dinner anymore. So today we've got baba ganoush, tzatziki, hummus, leftover Mexican dip, some pita, some tomatoes, olives. The tomatoes came from our garden, and they taste a lot better than the tomatoes we usually get at the grocery store. And some nacho chips. So here's our tomatoes. We're getting all kinds of little cherry tomatoes, and they're actually quite good. I don't know. Ones you buy in the store don't seem to have any flavor to them anymore.
Probably because of how they ship them or whatever. I don't know. They probably ship them before they're totally ripe.
Yeah, well, they don't come from here. They come from like California or somewhere, or South America. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, that was an experiment this year to grow our own stuff on our deck. And actually, it's been a very successful experiment because we've had fresh lettuce, we've eaten lots of salads, and basil, and oregano, and rosemary, and we haven't tried the onions yet. Are they big enough yet?
No, I think they're big enough.
And chives.
They look like a green onion.
Hi, Mel.
I think they're a different kind.
And well, there was something else you tried. Didn't you try some kind of beans? Or no, you didn't try beans.
Yeah, I did, but I planted them too late.
Oh.
Actually, I tried peppers, but then they didn't sprout.
No.
So
Well, we got 2 little yellow peppers.
yeah.
That's all we got of those. But anyways, it was an experiment. So I think next year we'll expand on that because we know a little bit more what we're doing. So, I mean, you just got a bag of a bunch of seeds off the internet and
Yeah.
threw them in pots. We didn't think
We still
anything.
got tons of seeds left.
Oh, yeah? Well, save those for next year. Oh, Marilyn's here. Hi, Marilyn. Hi, Teresa. So people are coming in now. So before I forget to say anything about this, but I will try to remember to also say it at the end, I have put in today's show notes the link to the Craft and Chat Zoom meeting. It'll be the second one that we have had. Planning to do it once a month on the first Wednesday of every month. And it's 1 p.m. in the afternoon, our time, Eastern Standard Time. And the link is there in the show notes. So about 5 minutes or so before 1 o'clock on Wednesday, if you're going to join us, just click on that link and you should get in. Now, as I've mentioned before, I will be recording it. And I'll be posting it later because I have people that can't make that time because they're working or they're in a different time zone that makes it, really late or really early in the day for them. So they have requested that it be recorded so they can catch it on a playback. So if you are uncomfortable with that, as I said last time, then you can join, but turn off your mic and turn off your webcam. And so you'll be able to hear everything, but you won't be basically participating. One thing you can participate in, because it doesn't record that, is the chat mode. So if you're not comfortable with it being recorded when you're connected to it, that's a way to get around it if you still want to be there when it's live. Otherwise, just wait till it comes out. It'll be posted a couple of hours later on the channel, and you can catch it then. So the link is in the show notes right now, and I will remind you of that when we come to the end of today's broadcast. Also, I will have it in my show notes for my vlog tomorrow, and my last Idiot Quilter that I did tail end of this week. I have the link in there as well. So 3 different places where you can find the link. And last time was pretty successful, I thought, and we didn't have a huge crowd, but
it was good to see people's faces.
Yeah, that was kind of nice. And
put
plus,
a name to a face, and it was kind of like a bunch of people that sort of know each other from distances talking to each other.
Yeah.
It was kind of fun.
And that's really what it's all about. It's very informal, and we share what we're working on. And that can be anything from sewing, quilting, paper arts, art journaling, scrapbooking, whatever. And sharing your ideas. If you've bought a new product you're trying out, or even an old product that you really love, then we'd like to hear about it, because you might think everybody knows about that product, but they don't. And I mean, I've learned a lot of things from watching YouTubes over the years about what other people are doing, and techniques and products and things like that. And that's the whole idea of this as well.
Yeah, and occasionally there's like things that are done in the crafting world that are kind of crossover to the sewing world, and vice versa. So
I am going to share it's not actually a demo, but I'm going to talk about my recent experience actually, with using resin. I tried resin a couple of years ago. It was all the rage then. And I didn't have a lot of luck with it, but I've since bought some new resin that came from Ranger. And when I say new, I don't know how long it's been out. I think they brought it out in January. And I tried it, and I tried some other resin that I had here too, trying different things. And I'm going to share that with everybody in case people are thinking about getting into resin. There's a lot of possibilities with resin. And I tried several different things.
Certainly smells up the house.
Yeah, that's the one problem with resin.
I thought something was rotting in the house, and I was looking all over the place. I was looking for a rotten potato or something.
It did. The resin that I used that came from that was the Ranger resin, did have that kind of smell. It kind of lingered in the air. It's not like a fumey smell, like like if you're spray painting or something like that.
To me, it smelled like rotting food.
Yeah, it smelled like rotting food. Yeah, weird. But anyways, so that's what we'll be talking about, along with everything else on Wednesday. So I hope you can join us then. Hi, Jeannie. Dana's here. Hi, Dana. So now today we don't have anything really specific to talk about. I've got some ideas, and we'll just go along, but we're going to go with the flow. So if something comes to your mind that we trigger or whatever, and you want to talk about it, Walter keeps looking in the background because he's doing some embroidery, and he's listening to the machine to make sure it's not making weird noises, because you know how that can be, right? You've heard me talk about that enough times. So anyways, let's talk about
I'm just gonna go check it.
You're going to check it? All right, fine. Let's talk about my mother. So, after 5 months of this COVID, my sister and I were finally able to have a face-to-face meeting with my mother. Now, the way it worked was I had to book it well in advance, and you knew that, know that I had planned to go over with my sister to see my mother on her 80th birthday, which was about 3 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. And of course, that was all booked. And then 2 days before, someone came down with suspected COVID. Turned out to be a false positive. But in the meantime, they shut everything down again. So they canceled all the visits. They just opened it up again on Thursday. And so I went in and I booked. And I think a lot of people were waiting to book because I couldn't get an appointment. until 3:15 in the afternoon that day. And even the next day after that, it was the same. So I don't know if the times before that were all booked up and that's what I could get. But anyways, that's what I booked. And so my sister and I, we went down. It was threatening rain that day. And if it had rained, then that would have been canceled. Because
But actually, for some reason, the weather forecast was wrong.
yeah, completely
Surprise.
wrong. Yeah, they said 60% rain.
But actually, it was there was practically no rain that ended up coming.
So we managed to get down there. See, the visits are outside. Of course, when we got there, there's two of the staff members are set up outside. They knew that we were coming because we'd already booked it, as I said. And they asked us all the COVID questions. You know, I've been out of the country. Do you have any sniffles, sneezes, anything, runny nose, diarrhea, whatever going on? Took our temperature. We sanitized our hands. We had our masks on. And they had a designated area. And there were 2 chairs set up in this designated area. And there was another chair set up 6 feet away. Of course, my mother's in a wheelchair, so she had her own chair. And they went up and they got my mother. And these visits were scheduled for only 30 minutes. And they were pretty good on the time. We were there 10 minutes before our time because we knew they'd have to do this check-in business. And yeah, when our 30 minutes was up, it was up. They came, they got her, and moved on to whoever was booked in the next. So they were very efficient with it. We had taken over the gifts that we had bought her for her 80th birthday. My sister got her a bunch of new tops and things like that, and we had cards. But of course, we could not give those to my mother directly. The staff took those. They said they were going to be disinfecting the bag that they all came in and stuff. And then after it sat for about 48 hours, they would give it to my mother. Of course, that wasn't a big problem because these tops also have to be labeled with her name, and there's a form you fill out, which my sister had already filled out in advance, and they sew in my mother's name into the tops and everything. So that usually takes them, a day or two anyways, so that's fine. She knew those were coming for her. So we sat there and tried to have a conversation with my mother. To this point, she hadn't answered her phone all week. My sister tried her on Monday and Tuesday, several times, both days at different times, trying to get a hold of her. She never answered. I tried on Wednesday, in the morning and in the afternoon. Nothing was answered. I tried again Thursday morning. We were scheduled to see her Thursday afternoon. So I didn't know whether or not she knew we were coming or not, whether they had told her. And I think they had. But anyways, so she wasn't answering the phone. So I said to her, so Mom, how's your room? She moved about a week ago or so, 2 weeks ago into the room. Well, it's small. That's all I've been hearing. It is small.
Well, I don't understand because she went and saw it.
I know. But it's my mother. She is only happy when she's being negative about anything. I said, well, Mom, there's not much we can do with it, but
I'm going to check my machine again.
But one thing that's to your advantage, Mom, is you don't have to worry about a roommate. So, because now it's a private room, right? I mean, we pay more money for it, but it's a private room. And that's what she wanted from day one, and I had to put her on a waiting list for that, and so we got her one. Of course, I haven't seen the room because we can't go into the nursing home. So, I don't know. But I told her, well, we'll get it decorated. Once we can come in and actually physically come into the nursing home, we'll get your room all set up for you. So I said to her, how's your television set working? Oh, well, it's not. And I said, what's wrong with it? Well, I don't know. It's not on the channel I want it to be on. I said, so it's coming on. Oh, yeah. Well, she doesn't understand how to use the guide system. On these televisions today through, your providers, you have the on-screen guide and the whole bit. And she has the remote. I have shown her many times. She doesn't get it. And I said, well, Mom, if you don't like the channel it's on when you first turn it on, just ask one of the staff members here to change it to a channel you do want. They know how to use it. They know how to do that, and they'll be more than happy to do it for you, because they do. There. Well, and this is the answer I get all the time. Well, I suppose. I'm thinking of having a t-shirt made up for that, and next time I see her, I'll just
It's
say,
like she's afraid
suppose.
to ask the staff to do something for her.
Well, she's not afraid to ask stuff of her family, that's for darn sure.
Oh.
Or bitch at us anyways. So then I said to her, I was leading up though to the phone business. I says, well, Mom, is your phone working all right? Well, I think so. Well, I said, I'm not sure if you would know or not. Well, why do you say that? Because we've been trying to get you all week. Well, you know, it takes me a while to get the phone. We let it ring 20 times. We know it takes you a while to get the phone. Well, I don't know. You know, I get so, when I hear the phone ring, I just get so nervous. I just can't do anything. I've heard her use that excuse before too. And I said, well, Mom, you need to get over that. Because that's why you're not getting phone calls from other people. Her best friends don't call anymore. I've talked to them, and basically they say she never answers. And they're elderly. They're older than my mother. And there's a cousin who was calling her once a week on a regular basis who lives way out of town. She says the same thing. Well, she lets it ring and ring and ring, and Mom never answers it. And they, you know, my cousin says, well, she's probably busy with an activity when I call her something. I says, no, she's not. She's sitting right in there with her television on, blaring at full blast. I said, she doesn't do any of the activities.
Well, you know what I think the problem is I think it's because she doesn't move her wheelchair. And she gets flustered when the thing rings because it makes her feel like she should go over and answer it. But then she can't move her won't move her wheelchair.
Won't move. It's not she can't, it's she won't. There's a difference. Well, my sister says to her, well, Mom, your phone is portable. You know that. Why don't you have it with you when you're in your wheelchair? And then when it rings, it's right there. Well, I suppose when I hear her say that, it takes me all my effort not to just pull out a machete and go, off with your head! Poop! You know, I suppose. How's that feel, Mother? Well, I don't know. Are you having trouble seeing now? I suppose. Yeah, whatever. But, like I said, I have a wicked imagination. If I ever live out what's in my imagination.
Frustrated with her, that's all.
Yeah, well, I try not to let it get to me. Because my mother lives for that. You know, but anyways, and then my mother says, well, when I'm in bed too, and my sister says, take your phone to bed. Just put it down beside you. Kind of a thing. There it is. And of course her answer was, well, I suppose.
But then she has to remember to do that.
Well, she won't do it.
Yeah.
She just won't do it. Mm-hmm. And I said to her, well, Mom, we're not going to be able to come over every week. And we're not. My sister and I have decided, okay, call us horrible whatevers. But for 30 minutes, it takes me 25 minutes or more to drive over there. You don't know whether or not she's actually going to come down for the visit. I mean, I wouldn't have been surprised if this time they'd come down and go, well, your mother's in bed. She says she's not feeling well. Because she's done that to me before COVID. When we could actually go in and see her, I would find out. I'd get there, and she was in bed. And I said, why are you in bed, Mother? Well, I'm not feeling well. Well, what's the matter? Well, I don't know. That's the other expression. Big t-shirt. Well, I suppose, well, I don't know. And then I'm going to put at the bottom of it, F off. It's the new expression. But she...
well, I think she goes to bed. You used to go to bed a lot because she decided that she didn't want to go for lunch or whatever.
Oh, yeah. So she figured she could get out of it for that and everything. I don't know. But anyways, I said to my sister, well, I don't know about you, but we can't do this every week. Not under these conditions.
Yeah.
And so we said it to Mom. We can't do this every week. You need to answer your phone. Nobody else calls you anymore, I said, except my sister and I. You know it's us because we let it ring 20 times. So if you don't pick up the phone, if you don't answer it, well, you take your chances with it all. But you want to know, my sister said, well, every time she talks to my mother can't get her off the phone quick enough.
Yeah, because you're disturbing her routine.
Yeah, and what routine, you know? Like,
well, I think that happens when you're institutionalized. It's also, like, you know how she was outside for the visit, right?
Yeah.
Because she's indoors all the time, going outside freaks him out.
Well, yeah, when she got outside, now, She looked like a deer in headlights because she had not been physically outside of that home in over a year. I mean, she went on a couple of little excursions they had to a local restaurant back, this is a year before COVID, they took them to. And that was probably the last time that she was outside. Um, when the weather, nice weather was around and it was normal time, they would roll them out to their patio area they've got and do things like that. But they'd ask them, would you like to go? You know, it's a nice day today. We could go out. My mother said, oh, well, no, I don't think so. Okay, fine. Stay indoors all the time. What the heck?
But it's funny because they, like, I mean, I had a mom in a nursing home for years, but mind you, my mom had dementia,
Yes.
right? So, and then when it was a nice day, they had a nice courtyard. And when it was a nice day outside in the summertime, I would take her out to the courtyard. Well, I'd no sooner get out there, she'd want to go back in. Because for her, it was a very confusing and was it unusual environment for her.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that was what my mother basically, you could see her like waiting, like, when are they taking me in? When are they taking me in? But it's also where they had us located. It's at the front of the building, and the front of the building is on a very, very busy street. It's actually a main, it's what we call number 2 highway. So it's not a 4-lane highway. It's just, you know, cars go one way, cars go the other way kind of a thing. But it's a main thoroughfare, and it is noisy. And her hearing isn't the best. So, and we're talking through masks. And so, you know, I was practically shouting at times. And then we had a friendly hornet come by, and my mother is deathly afraid of hornets. And so is my sister. And I used to be, and they're still not my favorite until one of them decided to sting me once. And now I have a new mission in life, is to wipe the hornets off the face of the planet.
I don't think I'm quite as bad with them as I used to be either, because last year I got stung twice by them.
Yeah.
But for some reason, and the sting hurt for about an hour, and then it didn't bother me anymore. So,
well, anyways, it was a stupid one because it started to fly low to the cement, and so at one point it lit on the ground on the cement. We were on sort of a little deck, and so as soon as it lit, I took my foot and I just went schmuck. And the staff that were sitting outside kind of looked over because there I was. They didn't know exactly what had happened. They probably thought I was trying to kill my mother. I don't know. But that hornet was no more. But every time it flew around, it wasn't coming near my mother. But she'd see it. It was like deer in headlight or like squirrel. So you're trying to carry on as little of a conversation as we can. Because usually my sister can carry the conversation because my sister can...
oh boy,
talk
you
forever.
can tell she's not working.
Well, you know, she was a stay-at-home mom for years and years, and so
Anytime you saw her when she was a stay-at-home mom, she'd talk your ear off. And then when she got a part-time job for a while, for a couple of years, and then she seemed to not talk your ear off as much because she had a social outlet. But now she's been at home again. She doesn't have a social outlet, so she talks your ear off.
but she didn't seem to do that with my mother, and I'm trying to, you know, we're there for 30 minutes. I'm trying to keep the conversation going because otherwise you're just sitting there staring, you know, at each other. And so I talk about what we've been doing and whatnot. I mean, none of that stuff is of any interest to my mother, but there's nothing she contributes to the conversation because, you know,
She didn't do anything.
she doesn't do anything. So there we are. Anyways, we did our duty. We went over, and I feel really bad. And I said to Walter, I'm a really bad son because I didn't want to go. I really didn't. In fact, I was hoping for rain. I really was. And I don't know why that is. Why I don't, but I just don't. So, well, actually, I know why, but I'm not going to get into it in this forum because it's kind of something that's more something you don't need to really know about that. That's something a psychologist would rather hear about.
Actually, when my mom was in a nursing home, especially the last few years, she wasn't very lucid anymore, and I used to go a couple times a week, and it was
You used to go 3 times a week.
yeah, I did, and I used to sit there for a couple hours. Anyway, because I always felt sorry that she didn't.
Yeah, abandon me, but mother comes first, not your husband.
Yeah. Well, anyway, someday she had lucid moments, and it was good to talk to her. But then a lot of times she wasn't, and so I used to get freak out a little bit before I got over there, type of thing. And once I was there, it was okay. But then, my mother went through a stage where she was shouting all the time, to the point where she got hoarse. And most of the time when I was over there, I could get her to stop. But there were some days where I couldn't get her to stop. And then I decided to cut my visit short. Then I felt bad, but
Well,
I mean, I couldn't handle it any longer. So
yeah, you see, that's really the problem I have too, is that once I'm there, I'm okay, but I'd rather not go over because there's nothing to talk about, and I don't know. It is difficult when you see your parents get to that stage in their life and the whole bit. And I keep thinking about what my mother was like, 20 years ago or more. And in some ways, the woman sitting there in the wheelchair is not the same woman anymore.
see, I was a little different. There was a lot of people on my mother's floor that had Alzheimer's, and those people did not recognize their kids or anything for the most part. Mother had dementia, and what she ended up happening to her is she lost time, and what happened was she did no longer she came to the point where she didn't recognize me anymore. But then because she couldn't remember the last 40 years, the most current 40 years of her life, she went back beyond that, and beyond that was when she used to live in Holland. And
didn't she start to speak Dutch again?
Yeah, she used to speak Dutch all the time, and then but she could still understand you if you answered in English. But anyway, she also substituted me for her brother. So she kept calling me her brother because that's the only male that she could, in her mind, figure out who it was. So,
And of course, she hadn't seen her brother.
No, but I still could sort of have a conversation with her, even though she had lost some of her memory. So
Yeah. But anyways, I don't. My mother doesn't have those problems.
no, she doesn't.
My mother's still intact up here.
Which is weird because my mother, my mother wasn't mobile the last couple of years she was in there, but when she started having dementia, she was still mobile. And whereas his mother, like, she doesn't, there's nothing wrong with her
Well, just attitude.
and stuff, but she is basically attitude.
Yeah.
So it's really kind of a different, really weird situation for
Yeah.
me.
But anyways, a few people here to say hi to.
Yeah.
Hi, Aunt B.
Hi, Jenny.
And Jenny and
Andy.
Andy, yep, there's Andy.
And Mel.
And Cindy. I think we've covered everybody that we say hi to. So there's some comments here as well. Aunt B says, my husband's mother is 93 and can't hear a thing. And then Teresa says, does your mother hear the phone? Does she wear hearing aids? Well, she doesn't wear hearing aids. I think there is a little bit of problem with her hearing, but no, she hears the phone. And I don't know. I was thinking before actually all this started with the disease of, talking to them in the nursing home and saying, about arranging for possibly having her hearing checked. But I don't know how they do that or whatnot. And right now with COVID, I can't take her somewhere.
Yeah, and
even taking her somewhere, I can't take her. I have to arrange. If it has to be done off site, I have to arrange for transportation, like basically, a handy trans or something that's skilled in this to take her to wherever. And
the other problem might be is that when she did get into the nursing homes, Steve, she has poor teeth.
Yeah.
Steve arranged to get her dentures made, right? Well, she promptly lost them. because she didn't like wearing them.
She lost the bottom plate, not the top.
Yeah, and then so I could see hearing aids going the same route.
And I'm sure we told you this story, so I don't need to go over it again. But basically, the way she lost the bottom one, she hated them. And she took them out when she was having lunch, and she rolled them up in her napkin. Oh, she forgot to pick them up on the way back to the room. Well, guess what? When they came and cleaned the tables off, anything that's on paper napkins, they don't go through the paper napkins and, oh, God, that'd be gross. Check. They just take everything, sweep it into a garbage can. And so they were gone. And, you know, we dropped $3,000 on her teeth. So, and she seemed to be managing without them on the bottom.
And I don't think she wears her top ones anymore.
Well, she has when we could go over and see her. She did have those in, but I don't know. So with hearing aids, she'll do the same thing with it. So
well,
I don't.
Before you know it, they'll be gone.
But I don't think there's anything wrong with her hearing. She has what my father used to call selective hearing, meaning she hears what she wants to hear, and she uses the other excuse, you know, for that.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, like we've been there before, and she seems to. Well, I don't know unless they've deteriorated a lot in the last 6 months, but she always seems to hear relatively well.
Yeah. So, anyways, but when this thing is over, or when I can go physically in there, or when I have the next meeting with the staff, like her yearly review, which comes up in a couple of months' time, I'm going to say to them, I'm going to ask them about it. Do you think, I mean, they have a nurse practitioner there that's supposed to check her out. She has a doctor there as well. You know, I'll ask them, do you think that she's having problems with her hearing, and see what they recommend? We didn't say your name, Alexa, so shut up. Anyways, so, yeah, that's the latest on my mother. Whatever.
Ongoing story.
Ongoing story. So, let's change the conversation, shall we? And let's talk about what Walter's been working on. Where's your shorts?
I finally finished my shorts. Yeah. I was procrastinating 3 last steps that I had to do. And that was putting on the button for the top part above the zipper, the closure button, and putting on the buttons for the pockets, and hemming. Hemming was actually the worst part.
Were you hemming and hawing about it?
I'm hemming and hawing about it, yeah. But anyway, so I did get it done yesterday, actually. I started with the buttons earlier. I mean, the buttons weren't hard to do. It's just that I'm always afraid I'm going to screw it up. But anyway.
Well, they pretty much look the same as what you saw last week, except now they're hemmed.
I did put my buttonhole on a little crooked, but you wouldn't notice that.
No. That's the first thing I spotted. Your hole was crooked. Oh, you happen to have them right there, do you?
No.
Okay.
I'm not wearing them, but yeah. So
well, hold them up so they can be seen.
They're done. They're done. Pants zipper, cargo pockets, buttons.
All done.
Back pockets.
Very professional. And probably only cost about $200 to make.
Yeah, probably by the time I was done.
You're certainly not, if you're making clothes, you're not making them because you're going to get something that's cheaper than buying out there.
Yeah, well, the fabric was expensive because I couldn't get, problem with buying fabric in Canada, it's hard to get certain kinds. And it was recommended to get stretch cotton twill. And the only place I could find stretch cotton twill was on fabric.com in the US. So I ordered it from that, and it was $15 a yard. I needed 2.5, I think I needed 2.5 meters, so I ordered 3 yards. That was $45 US. Then there was $20 shipping. Then there was $7 duty, so that all ended up costing me $95 American.
So that's like $150.
Plus,
bucks
it was
Canadian.
$60 for the class. So yeah, about $200.
Over 200, and that's just for materials and stuff. Doesn't really count in your time in that. So, but they turned out well. Now, Andy said, "Are you taking orders?"
No, definitely not. Those took a while to do. I think I'd do them again, except I might leave the cargo pockets off because cargo pockets are things that I don't usually use on shorts when I'm wearing shorts. And It's an extra step and extra time that I don't really need.
Do you think, I think it's more expensive to make men's clothes than it is to make women's clothes.
No, I don't think so. I think
No?
women's clothes are just as expensive.
Teresa says, is there anything Walter can't do? Sews, cooks, yard work. Yeah, make me happy.
Yeah, you're just like your mother.
I am not. Oh. Well, I suppose. Oh, bite me hard. But they did turn out really nice.
Actually, very pleased with it. Happy that the way they turned out. They fit pretty good. They're a little loose at the top, but not so loose that they would drop off without a belt.
Now, the next class that Brandon's having is with long pants, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's not probably till October. So, and he's going to do long pants. So I'm going to do that too because I figure it's something to do it, and it's motivational when you're following somebody else to do it.
He hasn't made me anything yet.
Yeah, I got to make you a shirt. I keep saying
uh-huh.
I will, but I haven't gotten around to it. But I will. I got to get you to pick out some fabric so I can cut it. So
Fine.
I need to do it for practice. That's what I need to do.
Well, are you making me a long sleeve shirt or short sleeve?
Well, what would you like?
Well, it is now going to be in September,
Yeah.
and by the time you get it done, it'll probably be like long sleeve weather. So,
Well, I can do long sleeve for you if you want. I've only ever done long sleeve once, but I have to change the sizing because
I'm petite. You know,
actually that
insert
pattern,
soundtrack
that
here.
pattern,
Laugh track.
actually that pattern's good because it goes up to extra
Careful.
extra pig size.
Careful.
No, the one that I did I think was more of a tapered one, so it's a little snugger. And they have an untapered version of the
Well,
pattern, so.
I'm a full figure girl, so you know, I can't get into slim fit. Slim fit, that's a joke in itself. You've got to be like, it's like a size 0 in a
Actually,
dress, right?
You have to be.
You have to be about 2
I'm
years
saying
old.
the way the patterns work is that if you buy stuff off the rack, then you're a certain size. But if you're making it from a pattern, you're like about 3 sizes bigger than what you are from the stuff that's on the rack.
I don't know why it's that way. That's ridiculous. They must be sizing them. The patterns must come from some place in the world where everybody is like only eats once a week.
No. The pattern.
What?
The pattern you have to be bigger than. Well, I suppose.
Well, I don't know. Whatever. So they're nice. And what are you working on now in there with the embroidery machine?
The freestanding haunted house.
Oh, the haunted house. Yeah, we're doing haunted houses. You know, I've been working on that wall hanging with the Halloween stuff in it, which...
Finished. Not completely finished. I got to put gray on it.
Oh.
But I can pull the hoop off.
So I've been working on that for quite a long time because each tile, and there's 16 tiles, takes 2 hours. Well, I've done 15 of the 16 tiles. I finished the 15th one today. So maybe by the end of the week I'll have the 16th tile done, and then I can get the rest of it all together and my wall hanging will be done. But in the meantime too, I bought these 2 embroidery in the hoop patterns for freestanding lace haunted houses. I've done this kind of thing before. So Walter's making...
My applique a little closer.
So I'm making one and he's making one. So, but they take a while to do too because you do them in pieces. So here's like the first piece of his haunted house. And that's on water soluble stabilizers. So you cut it out, the stabilizer as close to it as you can. And then you just sort of dunk it in water. And it's like a glue. It just all dissolves. And you leave some of the residue in the fibers. That's what makes it stiff. And then there's a series of what they call buttons and eyelets that are sewn right into the pattern, and you have to pull those through, and it all comes together. They're a little fiddly, and then you can put a little light. They're built so you can put a battery operated tea light up underneath it. Or I've got these little mini lights that have a remote control that are battery operated, but they change colors. And I think that'll look really cool in them too. So we'll see how that one goes. And we'll show it when we get them done. It won't be done tomorrow. No. So, what have I been working on? Well, tomorrow I'm going to talk about that in my vlog more or less, but I just got some new thingies today from Amazon. I'm going to attempt to do ruler foot quilting on my Christmas quilt that I showed you before, the one with the tree on it. But I have Angela Walters, who's a guru in free motion quilting and ruler foot quilting. She has came out back a year or so ago with her own line of rulers, and I bought them all, and I have not used them. I've tried them, but I know more now than I did then. And then I saw this whole thing about a 2-hour presentation from another company with their rulers, and I found their rulers on Amazon, and they look like they actually were probably easier to use, maybe not, than the Angela Walters ones. So I've got those. They just came today. Okay, what are you doing?
Oh, I've lost my glasses.
Geez, you're a squirrel. Cripes. I'm going to hammer and nail and just nail them to the seat or a glue gun. Anyways, so I'm going to try probably this week. I'm going to see what I can do with ruler foot quilting. And I'll probably do an idiot quilter episode about my adventure there. And we'll see how that goes. So turning the topic over to further development in our river cruise refund. Walter sent them off a note. We waited, how many weeks was it when you sent them the letter saying that you
2 months, actually.
Has it been 2 months?
Yep.
Since we sent the second letter off by expedited mail or registered mail or whatever they call that, so you know that we know that they got it, telling them, no, this is why we want an appeal, because they just flat out rejected us. So we hadn't heard anything, but we were leaving it. So like Walter said, it's been 2 months. And so Walter sent them at the first of this week another email saying, okay, what did you say in it?
Oh, I said that I told him that I sent it. I told him the dates.
Talk with your mouth full. Swallow.
I told him the dates, right? And and what else I said? Well, I told them the dates, and I said that I wanted a response to let us know that they had received the appeal, and if they could give us a timeline as to when they were going to process it, and if whatever the outcome was, I wanted a detailed explanation as to why they made that decision.
Yeah.
Because last time all we got was like a little one-liner.
Yeah, one-liner. So you canceled it. You don't qualify. Well, no. We had to cancel. And here's everything. And we had a very...
And what was really mysterious was the day that I sent them the message. Actually, they gave me a response really quick and said, yeah, it's still on file due to COVID and all this other stuff that it's been taking long. We have an increased number of appeals, and we're taking longer to process, blah, blah, blah. Well, it was funny. That same day that they responded, I suddenly got a message back from the travel company that gave us a different response, another travel insurance voucher, like an explanation as to what their policies were and why they only paid out half the amount of money, right? And I thought that was really strange, that by coincidence, it could have been just coincidence, or did the insurance company make some sort of connection with it?
Well, they said in that email, they said that they would not be giving any refunds back for the air flight portion of what anybody had paid because they could not get their money back from...
No. What they said is that the trip included airfare and all that other stuff, right? And then they said, well, just as a clarification, the air transit part of that, supposedly they did not get any compensation from any of the airlines for canceling that part of the trip. Plus, they said they had not given us any future travel credits.
Yeah.
So to me, what I'm saying is that an insurance company would go back and say to them, well, how come you wouldn't give them a full refund? Right?
Yeah.
And they're saying, well, we didn't get, it almost sounded like we're not giving you a full refund because we didn't get any extra money from we included air travel, and we're not getting any money from air travel. And we're not, maybe the insurance companies would say, well, you're not going to get it because you may have gotten a future cruise credit as well as, what do you call it, as well as money back.
Yeah.
You may have also gotten a future cruise credit in addition,
Yeah,
right?
well, we told them we didn't.
Yeah.
They offered us a future cruise credit, no money back, of 110%. But as I explained in that letter we sent to them for the appeal, that wasn't good enough because 110% would not cover the total cost of a future cruise with them on the caliber of what we'd already had canceled out from, because prices would not be the same.
Oh yeah, we didn't know when we could rebook, right?
Yeah,
And the
whether
other thing was is they were saying that if you didn't book by December 31st of 2022, that if you didn't use your travel credit, then we could apply for a full refund. And the concern I had is, what if they go, if let's say COVID keeps continuing, what happened if at the end of 2022 this company decides to fold their business because they can't sell any cruises?
Yeah, and right now cruise companies can't sell cruises.
Yeah, so like I'm sitting there going, no, they still do. They still sell them.
No, they're not. I just watched a couple of videos from the ones that supposedly are in the know, and they said now that a lot of the cruise companies have all stopped taking any advance bookings for anything into 2021 because they don't know what's happening.
Yes.
And in fact, only 2 cruise companies or something are still being allowed to operate in the United States. One is Royal Caribbean, and the other one, I forget what the other one was, but it wasn't like Carnival or something like that. The other ones have all moved their boats away from North America because over in Europe, there are still a few of them with very limited itineraries and all kinds of restrictions that are still running cruises at this time. Well, who's going on a cruise
Yeah,
at
well,
this time?
but I got a message from Emerald, which is where we booked, we booked with last week. Book your cruise for 2021 now.
But that was last week. This is this
okay,
week.
I don't know. I'd have
Things are changing constantly. The bottom line is they still have $10,000 worth of our money that they got for nothing. Therefore, they did not fulfill the contract. And no one expected this to happen, but it did happen, and no. They have more chance of absorbing these losses than the average consumer.
Yeah, well, what they're doing now with these cruises is that they're saying, like, if you can book, I don't know if you can, but they were booking earlier this year for 2021, right? And what they were saying is, be assured that you can book with us for 2021 and all this other stuff, that you can cancel your cruise and get, it didn't say get your money back, you will get a future cruise credit.
Yeah, see? So right there, doesn't that tell you something about this particular company? Emerald is their name.
And they're a division of Scenic Cruises, which Scenic has the same policy.
They're playing games with the consumers. They're basically they're only one short step from being called a scam, as far as I'm concerned, in their tactics.
Right. Even if you book with them, I think they've supposedly dropped their deposit rate, which used to be $500 per person for a deposit, but now they've got $250 per person for a deposit. But all they're saying is that if for some reason you have to cancel, you're only going to get the $250 back as a future cruise credit.
And you don't pay the day you arrive. You pay months, the full amount.
You pay 90 days.
90 days, a month and a half. No, 3 months. 3 months in advance of your cruise date. That's what happened to us because they demand it. That's all parts of the terms and the conditions of the trip. That's why, and we were waiting for them to turn around and say, okay, this cruise is not going to go. But then there was a deadline for when you could cancel and get 50% of whatever you paid back. So there we were, stuck between a rock and a hard place. We had to make a decision.
Yeah, they canceled basically 1 week before we could hit the deadline for 50% back. And we ended up canceling about a day before we could, so that we got the 50% back. And so, because I didn't want to let it go any longer, because I figured that if we didn't do that, sure, we'd get a future cruise credit, but we probably wouldn't be able to get any refund after that.
No, and on top, yeah. So I mean, 50% was better than nothing.
And because I figured that this company probably, well, or there may be a lot of companies that'll go out of business by the end of 2022. I didn't want to take the chance of losing everything. So
Yeah. So that's why we're fighting with the insurance business right now, and the insurance cost us $900. It's not like, so that's another company that we have paid in good faith.
because we paid $900 for travel insurance as well.
That's what I just
And
said.
they just came back.
Is there an
said,
echo?
Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't
Apparently, no. Oh, just like my mother. Need a hearing aid?
Selective hearing.
Hello. Hello. Well, anyways.
Anyway,
So we're waiting. They said that they're, have had more than usual number. Yeah, I imagine they have had. So we're waiting. We're being patient. But the fight is not over.
I did also say in my message to them that I said I wanted a detailed response before I decided whether I would escalate it to the next level up.
Yeah.
For complaints.
So, Laura's here. Hi, Laura. Marilyn says, what a ripoff. Sorry that they're scamming you guys. Bonbon says, use social media to put the word out as to what they're doing to consumers. It works. Yes, and I have done that before, and yes, I have put that out on social media. But it only works if other people join in on the conversation with it. And this is sort of a first world, white, cisgendered, entitled, white male problem, to use a few phrases that are being thrown around these days about my race and my color.
I'll get into that.
I know. Well, I'm going to get into something in a minute about that. But anyways, so yeah, we'll wait and see. Oh, hi, Roy. So anyways, yeah, that's what we're sitting down waiting on. So other different, switch topic again. So it was my brother's 59th birthday on Monday. Past Tuesday. Now, I think I mentioned to you before that my brother and I, of course, we don't really stay in communication. Not going to get into all of that, why that is. But anyways, I've been trying, when the few opportunities have appeared, to keep the door open for communication with him. He lives out in BC. And on my birthday last month in July, he sent me a text out of the blue wishing me happy birthday. And we had a little discussion via text. And actually, it was kind of nice. Caught up on, what's going on with him and his kids. And, well, his kids are all grown up, but pretty much. And that kind of stuff. So when his birthday came up this past week, I sent him an email wishing him a happy birthday and everything. And I filled him in on Mom's move and everything like that. And how are you doing? And blah, 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 general chit chat. And he sent back a message, and it was, yeah, everybody's fine here. Nothing with the disease. We're okay. We're safe. Didn't have time to write a long message or whatever because I guess his oldest daughter, my niece, and her husband were coming over to their place for dinner. I mean, probably celebrated her father's birthday kind of a deal and everything like that. But at least the door is still open, and that was nice. So, whatever. We'll see what future developments that might take. So anyways, that was that. I've already talked about the craft and chat. And for those who came in after I've spoken about that, there's a link in today's show notes that give you the particulars as to how to join the craft and chat, which will be this Wednesday coming at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay, so newsworthy, we think. Well, just before we went on air, I watched a couple of things on YouTube with Canadian news, and I guess over the weekend, some protesters, the Black Lives Matter group, pulled down a statue of Sir John A. Macdonald that's in one of the parks or one of the squares in Montreal. Now, there's big controversy around Sir John A. Macdonald, and for those of you who don't know who Sir John A. Macdonald is, he is like our George Washington, okay, to put it in an American context. He is a founding father of our country, and our country probably would not exist as a country if it hadn't been for the efforts of Sir John A. Macdonald. So he became our first prime minister. Now, it was in the 1800s, like 1864 to 1867, and he also did some nasty things by today's standards. And one of those is he created, and it wasn't he alone who created it, his government created, at the time, residential schools for Native people, Indigenous people. Now, the problem with that is what they basically did was they ripped these children away from their families, put them in institutions that were operated by the Catholic Church for the most part. They converted them to Christianity. They told them that their belief system and their customs and everything were completely wrong and uncivilized. Told them to give up their native language. They had to learn English or French. And that was that. And basically, they tried to make them white out of it all. And they were cruel to the children that were there, especially in the 1800s, early 1900s. I mean, beatings were a regular thing. All kinds of stuff that today we would call, in a minor way, child abuse, but much more than what that term even implies. It was very severe. Yes, horrible. And our country, since then too, every government that's come along, they've had protests about it. The Native peoples have been looking for compensation for it. They also created the reservation system, which basically said, okay, you can have this land, you can live on it, but that's it. You don't have to pay taxes, but we're not going to look after you much. And yeah, it's been an ongoing fight since the beginning of this country's history. And Sir John A. Macdonald has become a symbol of that. So they think, these protesters, that by pulling down these monuments to Sir John A. Macdonald, that this, for some reason, is going to make people recognize the injustices that have been put onto the Indigenous people of our country. Well, I have a problem with that. Yes, those things happened. And as a country, we're not proud of those things for the most part. Yes, it is true that our federal government has not given as serious attention as they should to this ongoing problem that's been there. But I don't think pulling down a statue of one of our founding fathers, our first prime minister, is going to change anything except get a lot of people upset over this. I think, and Walter and I were talking about this just before I went on air, that, the best way to do this is educate. The kids in school system right now, a lot of them haven't got a clue about Canadian history. They don't know. You say Sir John A. Macdonald, and they haven't got a clue who you're talking about. I mean, the one thing the Americans do really well in their education system is there isn't a kid in the United States, or a person for that matter, who doesn't know who George Washington was. Okay? But in this country, and also partly because we have a very high immigrant population as well, who come from countries all around the world, they may not necessarily know who Sir John A. Macdonald is either. So we need to educate our people in school better with this. But at the same time, also give them all the facts. Yes, Sir John A. Macdonald did this, this, and this for our country, but he also did this to the Native people. He did this and this and everything. Like, show them the good and the bad. Don't, for lack of a better term, whitewash it, the history. Okay? But pulling down those protesters, I'll bet you there are a number of protesters in that group that pulled down that statue who probably don't really know the whole story behind Sir John A. Macdonald, or even the time period that was going on. So that brings to the question then, if we allow this to go on, how many other statues are going to be pulled down? They've already talked about it. They've been defacing some statues in Toronto around Queen's Park, our provincial parliament buildings, because there's people there like Sinclair and a few others who all came from the colonial time period in the early days of us becoming a country, who basically were still British or came from the old system of looking at things. And yes, they did a lot of good things and they did a lot of bad things, because show me a human being on this planet who hasn't done both, good and bad. So what are you going to do? Tear down everything. Because that's eventually, you can find fault with anybody's statue that's up there. It doesn't matter who they are. Go to the Hockey Hall of Fame. There's statues all over the place, and there are great champions of hockey. And there's little skeletons in their closets too. But do you hear people saying, I want to pull down their statue? And then that says, who do you put a statue up to then? Who can you find who's absolutely perfect?
Maybe we shouldn't be putting a statue.
I was just going to say, maybe the solution is we don't put up statues. We don't name streets and buildings after people. Maybe that's the way to go. But I think the way you really start to head this off is education. Tell the whole story, not just part of it. So it irks me that I get the point of what they're trying to do. But this is not going to solve the problem. Put your energy into things that will solve the problem. Pulling down a statue doesn't solve the problem. And you want to know something? It's just going to get a lot of other people really upset with you. So you're going to, instead of bringing people together on a common goal to find a solution to a problem, you're going to divide them even further. So I don't think that's a solution at all.
And it's controversial.
Yeah. Billy says, it will be like here. We have lost all of our southern monuments. Exactly. And is it solving anything? No, it's just polarizing people with it all. So, I don't know. I don't know what you do about it. But I still think that there were some people that are worth honoring, and it is part of our history. History is not always good. In fact, the history of mankind, womankind, peoplekind, got to make sure I use the right pronouns and everything.
And I think forgetting the bad things that occurred in any country is not a good thing. It's something that should be remembered and corrected going forward.
You know, I am sure if you look hard enough, you can find some scandalous little element in some of the greatest people that have been honored for years, like Mother Teresa, Martin Luther King Jr., Nelson Mandela. I don't know. Everybody has something that they either regret or other people regret that they did as well. So, you know. Marin says, what if another civilization decided to bring down Stonehenge because they were pagans? Yeah, but you want to know something about that, Marilyn? I just saw something the other day about Stonehenge and about, they're trying to figure out, they've been doing this for years, trying to figure out where the darn thing came from. There are people who protest that. They think Stonehenge should be plowed under because, in their mind, it is a pagan thing. So there you go. Luckily, they've put up fences around Stonehenge to keep the nuts out. I guess people were chipping at it too, taking samples of it. We saw it before they ever put the fences up many, many, many years ago. It's not that impressive. I mean, okay.
I didn't see it for very long because I hadn't had.
Oh yeah, one of your famous. Oh, there's a washroom here. I gotta go. That's the war cry of everything. We go out somewhere to shop, like
I have an
yesterday
irritable bowel system sometimes, and it actually hasn't acted up on itself for a while. But
all I know is you're in the middle of a store. I look over, his eyes have glassed over, and he goes, "Uh-oh," and I went, "Oh crap! We have to go home. We have to go home now." And I know, okay. And as we're going home, I said, "Don't hit a speed bump because the last thing I want to have to do is all you'll hear is bang, poof, like an airbag going off, and you're scraping it off the windshield inside."
I've had that problem since I was
and
a
that
kid,
ain't
so.
chocolate. Yeah. It's just deer in headlights. As soon as I see that, I go, oh no.
Well, it happened to me at Stonehenge. They have huge bathrooms there.
No doubt the pagans were bigger, so that you have bigger washrooms. I don't know. Let's see what people are saying here. world would be a much better place without any religion. I agree, Mel. John Lennon had it right. And Bonnie says, scrap the monuments doesn't mean we have to forget them, but we don't have to honor people that did bad things to mankind. Just my opinion. I agree. We don't have to do that. In fact, we shouldn't do that. So from here on in, our bad, moving forward, we will not put those up again. We will stop doing that. We'll save a lot of tax dollars. Okay? But what has been done in the past is the past, and we learn from the past, but we cannot change the past. We just don't want to repeat it. So tearing down these monuments that have been there from a generation or 2 generations or 3 generations in the past, recognize what they really represent as a reminder of what we won't do again. If you tear down those kind of things from our history, in 2 or 3 generations, people won't know what those people did, right or wrong. And if you don't learn from the past, you repeat the past. You repeat history. So yeah, going forward, no more statues. Get rid of that idea. Improve the education system so that kids learn about the past, but they learn about the good and the bad in equal portions, so that they are aware of that kind of thing. Pulling down a statue does not mean out of sight, out of mind. It's not. It's not. Andy says, it's because people have been waiting for change for too long. It seems the only time people in power even acknowledge there's a problem is when things get discussed. But this isn't a discussion. This is a reaction. It doesn't leave room for discussion. You don't hear these people that are pulling down those statues saying, okay, we disagree with this. This shouldn't be up there. Here's our reasons for it. Let's have a dialogue about this. Let's talk about it with the authorities. No, they just immediately think it's their right to destroy public property. And if you want to put it on a more practical basis and take it away from the philosophical and historical, those suckers cost money to put up and to maintain. And where's that money coming from? In Canada, that money's coming from me, from us, the taxpayers. And they're going to put that monument back up. You know damn well right they're going to, because the Premier of Montreal has already said they're putting it back up. So there goes more money down the tubes. Money that could be rechanneled to better housing, welfare, unemployment, creating jobs, this kind of stuff.
Well, actually, Andy was saying that because people have been waiting for change for too long, and the government, well, I gather it, she's saying that the people in power aren't listening. So
No, but do the people in power ever listen? And here's another thing from history. Did the people who decided that the people in power were not listening to them, and so they threw governments over, or that they rebelled, or anything, how did that work out in all cases? So they put somebody new into the position, and guess what the new people did? They stopped listening too. Because, what's the saying? Power, how's that saying? It's an old one, everybody knows it. It's Descartes or somebody, or Voltaire, I don't know which one. You know, power, absolute power corrupts, or no, power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely, or something like that. I don't know, I've got that wrong. I know I've got that wrong, but you know what I'm talking about. Bonnie says, Canada wasn't formed in Toronto anyway. But no, it wasn't. I don't know what a monument in Toronto means to me in New Brunswick. Get rid of it permanently.
what about monuments in
the-
New Brunswick?
Yeah, there's monuments in New Brunswick apparently too. And the one that they pulled down was not in Toronto, it was in Montreal. And I'm sure you understand, Bonnie, that Montreal is not next to Toronto. I know you know that. I'm just being funny. Okay. People in the U.S., Marilyn says, trying to destroy Lincoln statues. I do not get that one. Yeah, but you want to know something? If you study history, Lincoln wasn't all that great. As not in the way he's been portrayed and mythologized or legendized. legendary, kind of a thing. He had things too. If you really go in and you study the history of what he did, he wasn't actually. He did not emancipate the slaves fully. That actually happened after he was assassinated. Okay? He started it. He got it going and the whole bit. He was the principal person that was pushing it through, but he didn't see it through to the end because he got shot. And also, it was a bargaining chip he was using in order to rally the North against the South, along with other things too. So there was political motive behind it all. And so, you could debate whether or not what he was doing was solely a great thing, or were there conditions? And there were conditions to it all. And unfortunately, the slaves were caught in the middle, and they weren't winning either way, because look at the history. 100 years later, there's the civil rights movement. And it was a horrible thing there, too. I mean, probably the civil rights movement did more good than what Lincoln did. Just saying. Don't know. Yeah, but Bonnie, who would you put up? Well, you'll probably say don't put up anybody, and I agree with that. But today you could put somebody up
that you think is wonderful.
That's wonderful. In another generation, they're going to find out things that don't make him so wonderful or her so wonderful, and they'll be fighting to pull that down. So that's why I say don't put up any. Probably the safest route to go. Besides, do we even pay attention to them? No. I mean, the city of Toronto has all kinds of monuments everywhere. I couldn't tell you what they are, where they are, who they're about, because you go to Toronto, they just blend into the background. If you're not purposely looking for them, who cares? And I mean, I don't know about you, but when I see a monument, even when I'm on holiday somewhere, or if I'm in Europe or something like that, yeah, if they've got more than 2 sentences on the plaque, I go, yeah, blah, blah, moving on. I don't sit there and study it. Now, I don't think I'm alone in that. I think I might be somewhat rare in the fact that I might actually stop and at least read 2 sentences of it. But, a lot of people, just keep going. They don't care. Andy says, if people in power continue not to listen, then they shouldn't be surprised by what's happening. Yeah, but that's politics, isn't it? Not saying it's something that's good. I'm just saying that it is what it is.
Yeah.
And Bonnie says, yes, I lived in Montreal, and I do know that. Yeah, I was being funny, Bonnie. Okay, don't get your knickers in a knot, sweetie. Okay, it's okay, I know. Jeannie says, I'm seeking evidence that people have learned from history. Well, yeah, Jeannie, that's an interesting thing, too. Do people learn from history? No, I don't think they do. But
I think change takes a long time, and some change in some areas take longer. I guess it's because you get these, how strong the opposing views are.
The squeakiest wheel will get the oil. Whether that squeaky wheel is for the good or the bad of a society, it doesn't matter. If you squeak long enough, something will happen. It may not be a positive thing that happens, though. It may turn around and blow up in your face, too. So, who knows?
But should people stay silent? No.
No. People shouldn't stay silent if they feel that there's an injustice. However, what's an injustice to you and what's an injustice to somebody else might be two different things. And that's where we have the problem. Because justice is not black and white. Nothing is black and white. We know that. Everything's shades of gray. So it all depends who the personalities are, or the groups, or the organizations that are working within that spectrum and how they work it. So, Bonnie says, I don't celebrate in that manner. None is my motto. We are white middle class, so maybe they don't mean much to us, but an Indigenous person, they represent nothing good. However, the question is, was it Indigenous people who were pulling down that statue? Because they have television cameras on them, but of course they're all wearing their masks, right? They can't tell who it is, and they've gone to the group that organized the protest and have asked them directly, was this part of your plans? And the group did not say it was. The group didn't say it wasn't. What they said was no comment. But apparently there was a pamphlet floating around that was indicating this was going to happen so they could get people there. So that begs the question as to who actually was responsible for pulling down that statue. Was it the group that was protesting? Or was it a bunch of people who were hiding in amongst that group who decided this was something they were going to do? Nobody knows, and I don't think anybody's going to find out. They're just not. Nobody's perfect, Mel says, but it's good that slavery was finally ended. But I really cannot understand why some people are still so racist. All people should be equal no matter what skin color they are. I agree, and I don't want to even get into... I mean, I've said too much about this now, and you've noticed I've been trying to stay away from saying the BLM, okay? I don't want to get into that conversation because it doesn't matter what you say or what you think, you will not come out on the right side of it with anybody because it is too much of an issue that is based on bad emotional responses to things. And yeah, we see the news, and of course it's media, so you got to take it with a grain of salt. And I agree. I don't know why people have to be so racist, and I don't defend them or support them for being racist or anything like that. But at the same time, as Walter said, change takes a long time. Okay, so they've started on that change. It's just a question, though, of how you...
And different countries handle things differently.
Yeah.
So, and part of it is politics. A lot of it's politics.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is actually the attitudes of the people that live in that country that causes a big problem. Things that happen in Canada happen a little differently than they happen in the United States, as they happen differently in Australia, or as they happen differently in Europe. And a lot of it has to do with politicians, and it has a lot to do with the attitude of the people that live there, and the big discrepancies between people in each of those countries.
Economics plays a major role in it too. It's not as simple.
It's not a simple solution to say, yeah,
No.
you got to do this and you got to do that, and it's not something that even we can possibly identify in each individual area. So
No. Billy says, when will they learn violence only leads to more violence? Exactly. We've had several world wars that we learned nothing from about that. And we have ongoing wars in the world today.
yeah, but you know, sometimes when peaceful protest is, I guess what's happening is it happens in some places is that when peaceful protests don't have any effect, then people turn to violence, and then that's not good because it has even a negative impact. But I guess it's people's frustrations.
Yeah, Marilyn says, I will say this. Look at what happened to the Jews. I do not see them wanting reparation from anyone. Oh,
let's not get
no.
onto that.
I'm not going to go there. I'm just going to say one word, Israel. That's all I'm going to say. Middle East. That's all I'm going to say. We're not getting into that one. No, at all. And I can also bring up us as well. We're gay. Guess what? Do we know prejudice? Do we know violence? Do we know people who think we should be killed?
And we even today, we get into problems because now the transgender community is trying to change the way things work and stuff like that. And like that, he said earlier, cisgendered. Why should I be calling myself a cisgendered male? And that's a transgender term as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. And I'm just a male.
Far too many labels.
I've always been a male, but I don't need to say that I'm cisgendered. So,
no. So when I talk about these things like this, I'm also talking about it coming from my own background as being someone who is part of a group that only in recent time have we been able to basically hold our own. I mean, a generation ago, everybody was in the closet.
Yeah, I remember we were discussing this last
Yeah.
night. I remember not too long ago, probably about 25 years ago, maybe.
Oh no, Marilyn, we didn't take it as offensive. No, you brought up a good point.
We would be walking with a couple of friends in downtown Toronto, and a car of yahoos would drive by and yell "effing faggots"
Yep.
from the window, and we sort of endured that.
Mm-hmm. So, we've had some of our monuments pulled down. Now, we don't have monuments per se of individuals, but we have landmarks that have been attacked because they represented something that another group of people in society who thought they were the moral right or whatever had the right to destroy. And maybe the destruction they put upon it was not so much destruction as in physically destroying a building or a monument, but it was physically trying to destroy our rights as human beings.
And it's different where you live too, because there's ongoing discrimination in other. We live in a very urban area in Canada, and a lot of the anti-gay discrimination is sort of downplayed. It's still here.
Oh yeah, it still
but then
exists.
if you get into the more rural areas, it's much more intense. Like if you go out west, it's a little bit more intense than it is here. So, or northern Ontario, where it's more of a rural population, it's less forgiving. So,
I mean, we know a person who lives out west in the prairie provinces. He has to live a closeted life because out there in 2020, he could be putting himself into jeopardy. Now, it might not be completely physical because, I mean, after all, we do have laws protecting all human beings in Canada against violent acts of aggression and things like that. I mean, they still happen, of course. But he is not free to live his life as a gay man. He has to hide his true identity given certain circumstances. We're lucky where we live. As we live next to Toronto, this area tends to be very progressive. If someone gets in our face, we'll get back into theirs. We're not afraid. But here we know because behind us are the majority of other common everyday citizens who would support us. But that's here in this little corner of Canada. That is not the same in other parts of Canada or even other parts of our province. Because for the most part, we are a very rural society.
no one wants to change the subject to more happy things.
What? You don't think being gay is happy? It's just in the word itself. I'm just so happy I'm so gay. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, you're right, Mel. Let's move on out of that anyways. I just felt when I saw that thing about that, I had to say something. But anyways, okay.
Well, what is our show without being able to talk about controversy?
Yeah, really. We'd all be bored. You'd have to be looking at us, and we're not that entertaining. So, okay. What are we watching? We saw an interesting movie on, was it Netflix? Biohackers? Oh, it wasn't a movie. It was a series.
Yeah, it was Biohackers. It was on, was it? I think it was Netflix, yeah.
I think it was Netflix, yeah. Actually, it's got, how many did it have? 6 in it? 6 episodes?
Yeah.
1 hour episodes kind of thing. Actually, at first it sounded a little hokey, but actually it was kind of entertaining. The voices are dubbed because I'm not sure exactly where.
It's German.
Is it German? Mm-hmm. But kind of worth the watch. We blitzed it one night. We
binged it. Lucifer season 5.
Yeah, I started to watch Lucifer in the first season, and I only watched about 1 or 2 of them, and I should go back to it. I keep thinking I should go back to it and get into it more, because I know it's got a really popular rating, especially after season 1. I think it became even more popular. What?
Bootsy wants to pose for a monument.
Yeah, I'm available to pose, clothed. Oh, thank you for the clothing. For any monument, any cause, because I like the attention. Yeah, I could see you doing that. Oh, and Roy, I saw that you were trying to do a live earlier in the week, and I guess you must have been having some technical problems. But it was kind of funny because and we've been there. We know what it's like to stare at this and go, "Is this thing on? What's it doing now? I don't know." So don't give up on it. It's not that difficult, but it depends on what you're using to hook into it. I find if you're trying to hook into it through your computer, it's not as easy as doing it from an iPad or from an iPhone. Like we do it from an iPhone. It seems to work a little better with YouTube Live, anyways.
Canby's Creation seems to think Roy is funny.
Roy is funny. Oh, you're playing with StreamYard, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, you see, there's something through StreamYard and YouTube and how you get them to talk to each other, and I played around with that once too, and I got confused. So, I don't know. All these different programs don't seem to always play nice with each other. No lives for me right now, Bootsy says. All right, okay. What else? Well, if you want to read a good book, I just finished reading it. It's called The Gown by Jennifer Robson. It's about Queen Elizabeth's the second, the one we have right now, about her wedding dress. And it's fictional, but there's these ladies who work on her, all the embroidery on it. But it's more than just that. It's sort of about their lives, and there's some intriguing things that happen in it. It's actually really worth the read. I really quite liked it. So that's my suggestion for a book for this month, The Gown by Jennifer Robson. And what's cooking? Did you make anything exciting this week?
Oh, I made cannelloni last week, but
You made
we said that, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if I made anything too exciting this week.
I made a breakfast casserole this morning, which actually is just another name for it was basically a quiche, sort of a crustless quiche. That wasn't too bad. Yeah, that's about all. We haven't seen anything much too interesting. I'm watching Frontier. Now, it's been on for about 6 seasons. I just started watching it, and I'm just finishing up the 3rd season of it. I quite like it. It's sort of like the whole, it's Canada, but it's the fur trade. It's Hudson Bay Company, and everybody's fighting everybody else for pelts and stuff, but there's more to it than that. It's good. It's got that guy, Jason Manon, whatever his name is. The guy who played Aquaman in the movie, anyways, in it. But he's really quite good in it. Okay, so that takes us to our end of our time. I didn't even get to our pop puree topics. Well, we'll have to save that for next week. So, just a reminder, again, Craft and Chat this Wednesday, September 2nd, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The link is in the show notes today. The link will be in my vlog tomorrow.
Yeah, but don't log on until Wednesday.
Yeah, I have a few people who I think they're confused. They may not use Zoom before, but they tried to log in. I get a message saying such and such is waiting for it to start. Well, it's going to take a week for it. So I don't understand that unless you're just trying it to see what happens when they do that. But anyways, I would suggest that you log on about 5 minutes. I'm usually on there about 10 minutes before it starts, official start time. And you see there's something called the waiting room. So when you first go on, you won't be connected immediately. It'll tell you waiting for the host to let you in, and that's me. And when I see it comes up, it gives me a little signal. And then I just say, yeah, come on in, like kind of a thing, and it'll connect you to it. Do remember I'm recording it. So just as a warning for that kind of thing. And yeah, we're going to share what we're working on. Any questions about products, anything you want to throw out there, general chats, very informal. And I'm going to do a demo, a little short demo, more of a presentation about using resin for crafting as well, from my limited experience with it, okay? So everybody have a great week. Hope to see a lot of you that can make it on Wednesday. And my vlog's up tomorrow. And we'll see you next week as well. So have a good one, everybody. Say goodbye, Walter.
Good night, everyone.
Oh, you didn't say goodbye, Walter?
No, I didn't.